Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. I received an email this morning from an avid listener. Bruce asked me, what has happened to our country? I ask the same question. Not only do we have an overreaction by the President of the United States, not only do we have Marines dispatched to Los Angeles by the President of the United States, who now claims, as of a few moments ago, that if it were not for him, Los Angeles would have burned to the ground. I don't think Donald Trump understands Los Angeles, nor do I think he understands what it means to burn something to the ground. I think Donald Trump is completely out of touch. And yes, I do believe there is an abuse of power. The simple truth is that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, are saying clearly and precisely, we didn't need you. And I'm going to make a suggestion now that you may agree or disagree with. I don't believe that what we are seeing, really, in these demonstrations is a reaction only about ICE. No. There is a lot here about protesting Donald Trump. Do you understand? The issue here is not immigration. The issue here is Donald Trump and his abuse of power, his overreaching of power, the dispatching of Marines to Los Angeles, and of course, the nationalizing of the National Guard. These are real issues which need to be addressed. I listened this morning to an assistant secretary in Washington, D.C., McLaughlin, her name, describing how the president had saved us from catastrophe. Quite the contrary. I believe that what Donald Trump has done is to ignite the flames of even a greater fear of what he is doing. There is no doubt that our immigration policy needs reform. There is no doubt that what Donald Trump is doing is fanning the flames of anger. These protests that are done, for the most part, peacefully, despite the claims by Ms. McLaughlin that you could see Molotov cocktails and fires and so forth, you did from a few extremists. But where was Donald Trump? Where was his administration on January 6th, when the whole capital of the United States, our Temple of Freedom, was under attack? Did Donald Trump call out the Marines? No. Did he nationalize the National Guard? No. The simple truth is Donald Trump is using what is happening now for political purposes. And this, to me, is the most appalling thing of all. This is a president who puts his own personal political agenda ahead of the good of the nation. So my answer is we're going to be in for some tough days, and the courts are going to have to make some tough decisions. And those who are opposed to Donald Trump are going to solidify their anger if, as has been suggested, this situation in Los Angeles spreads across the country and the president has to do things in other communities. Well, let me tell you something. There will be even greater outrage. And where are the Republicans? Where are the Republicans? If Joe Biden or Barack Obama had tried to do what Donald Trump is doing now, they would have been up in arms. And the silence of the Republicans is a shame. I want to say a word about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We now know that he has dismissed 17 individuals who've been working as a vaccine advisory board. We know that he has done it because Robert F. Kennedy Jr., no matter what he says, is opposed to vaccines. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is empowered by Donald Trump and by the Republicans who voted for his confirmation in the United States Senate. I am someone who understands, I believe, the importance of vaccines, and I believe you understand it too. As a kid, I had the polio vaccine, and it saved this country without any question. And in the late pandemic, which could reemerge as we know, we found that vaccines did not eliminate the virus, but it reduced the danger of illness. It reduced the number of deaths. And Robert Kennedy Jr., as Secretary of Health and Human Services, is now attacking the idea of a vaccine. This, to me, is the most appalling aspect of domestic politics, which represents the greatest threat to us, to the American people. And why? Why is this happening? It is happening because Donald Trump is president of the United States. And you can go department by department. You can look at universities across this country doing major research who have had their research grants cut not because of logic, but because of politics. Because Donald Trump views particular universities as the enemy, and because he is determined to destroy Harvard University. He's determined to destroy the research that universities do across the board. A friend of mine had his daughter graduate from MIT with a PhD, and she was all set to go with a grant in order to really make a difference. And what happened? The grant was canceled. Not because it wasn't worthy, not because it wasn't important, but because of Donald Trump's perception of where we are as a nation in terms of university research. He wanted retribution. And may I say, so that you understand this, that is what we now know is true about Donald Trump. To those who told me when he was elected president, oh no, there won't be any revenge, there won't be any retribution, it's all campaign rhetoric. My answer is a clear and precise one. Of course it's retribution. Of course it's revenge. Of course it's pursuing a political agenda. Donald Trump has an enemies list, and he is pursuing that list with all of the vigor that he can muster. And he is creating incidents to allow him to exert greater power. Now, my friends, the question is, when will the Republican Party strike back? And when will the courts act? I am waiting for the United States Supreme Court. Maybe we all are. Maybe the last best hope we have in the days ahead is a Supreme Court which responds. This, to me, is the essence of the challenge we face. Yes, challenges we face in terms of the preservation of our republic and our democracy. I want to conclude by saying that nothing I am saying is extreme. It is all completely logical. And even those who support Donald Trump, and I have those of you who email me and call me, who have passionate views about Donald Trump, you cannot deny that what is happening now, whether it is vaccines or whether it is the question that we are raising now with the Marines in Los Angeles and the nationalization of the National Guard, there is no defense. I want to close with one other thing. We are not dealing in good time with what is happening in Ukraine. The massive drone attack by Russia on Ukraine, and the fact that this conflict is escalating. We are, of course, absorbed with domestic affairs. But if we lose sight of what is happening in the international arena, if we don't understand the significance of what Russia is doing now, and the fact that Donald Trump's policy of picking up the phone and talking to Vladimir Putin is a failure, well, there's so much to talk about and so little time. But I promise you, as long as we have breath, we will speak out. And I hope you will too. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. And I want to point out you can interact with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. A number of you call me. You have very strong opinions, and I'm delighted to receive them. My special thanks to Gogo Zoger for producing this podcast. She does a great job, and we are up and running because of her good work. I am John Rothman. You are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman, and I will be back tomorrow, I hope, with better news. See you then.